What's going on, guys? So before I get to the topic in the title of this video, another testament to how dedicated and hardworking I am when it comes to producing quality content for you guys, most of which is absolutely free. As you can see, this is another video that has been sitting on the docket, sitting in queue since October 7th, 2019, which is why I told you guys a while back that, I had to switch up the way I was promoting these videos on BitChute and FS Avenger, and I changed my style from, DBM to a story within a story, meaning while producing a commentary on ScrewTube, knowing that it's at high risk, nonetheless, I also promote another video that I already have had waiting in queue. So the mere fact that this video has been in queue for October, November, December, January is indicative of exactly what I mean when I was talking about how I was stacking up too many videos unpublished on FS Avenger and BitChute and not releasing them, because almost every day it comes to my mind to produce commentary on something else. So this video, as you can see in the title, it touched on a very touchy subject for me, and I talked about a lot of the things in regards to the origins of what we see now with the bedwentry of black females deifying and worshiping white men. And I had always wondered and pondered where that came from. And so I titled this video, "Did Zulu and Other Ancient Tribes of Black Men Pimp Out Black Women to White Men for Brownie Points?" Now, this is another, uncomfortable truth that is, a exemplar of, the thing that I've been saying, which is that black men are literally half the problem with black women. And among other things I talked about in this video, I discussed, the truth of the Zulu tribes and how a lot of black people mistakenly believe that the Zulu were the ones, and to be honest with you, I mistakenly thought this at one point, that the Zulu were the tribe of Africans who resisted the white men, when truth be told, the Zulu actually allied with the British against the Dutch. That, and the sad tragedy is, and I talked about this, I don't want to give too much away in the video, but the tragedy is, the only reason, you hear, there are even gangs that call themselves, Zulu over here. I think there's a gang in Chicago that call themselves the Zulu Kings or some stupid nonsense. The only reason black Americans know that the Zulu were a tribe, because they were one of hundreds, if not thousands, of tribes in just West and South Africa alone. The only reason we know who the Zulu were is because of their connection to white history. Okay? If they had not have allied with the British, we wouldn't have even known the Zulu existed. That's just how lost and cut off from our ancestral heritage in Africa we actually are. And why I also emphasized in this video that the only thing that's really black about us is our skin color. But anyway, yeah, I touched on that. And I also addressed this issue that I've been pondering for a long time, because I said, we know, historically, we know, cat's been out of the bag for decades, that African tribes sold other Africans into slavery to the white man. And I said, well, if we know that blacks sold blacks into slavery to the white colonizers, then it would seem only natural because, back then, black men in Africa, especially the warrior class like the Zulu, these black men were actually men. They were real men, like they would fight you, they commanded and demanded respect from, their constituency. So it was highly unlikely when we look at the origins of this deification of whiteness that these black tribal women would be going off, sneaking off or going off with these white men and tricking with them and laying up with them without the approval of, their tribalmen. Because back then, there were in those cultures, in those ancient tribes, there were serious consequences whether you were male or female and you stepped out of bounds. Okay, they didn't play that shit. And in some parts of the world, as you know, they still don't play that shit. We say that some tribes of people, especially in the Middle East, are locked in the Middle Ages, and sometimes, well, we ain't gonna go there. This is YouTube. But anyway, my point is, I got to thinking about it. Say, okay, I put two and two together. If you know we know that blacks sold other blacks into slavery, then wouldn't it be natural to assume the next step, which is that blacks pimped out black women for prostitution or even marriage to white men, that they were allied. We know that there were African tribes that allied with the white colonizers. That's how they sold blacks into slavery. Okay, we know this. So, perhaps this is where the origin of the black female deifying the white man began. Maybe there was a time when they respected black men and looked up to black men, and the black man trying to impress his white compadre say, hey, you want some, this is YouTube. I want to say something. I mean, it don't matter. They gonna fuck with my shit anyway. But you want some pussy? You want some jungle pussy? And he's like, yeah, that looks good. That I'm right there, guys. I'm sorry, but everywhere I look historically, it's hard for me to disconnect black men from the overall situation that we see in black America today and historically. I mean, y'all share, I'm not just talking about y'all individually, because there are a lot of woke brothers, but I'm just saying black men as a collective share a large part of the responsibility for what we see today. Okay, because again, as I said, women cannot do anything on their own without the approval and especially the enforcement of men. Okay, no matter what feminism says, we know this is true. So anyway, guys, check that video out. This video that you're looking at is actually on BitChute.com. I uploaded to both BitChute and FS Avenger. The link in the description box is actually to the FS Avenger website. I'm only promoting FS Avenger on my videos where it's not exclusive to BitChute, because the BitChute website, it automatically, like when I publish a video, even if it's been sitting up for months, that video automatically gets updated to the top of the home screen of my channel on BitChute. So I don't have to worry about people seeing the video. Once it's updated, an email is sent to my subscribers, just like on YouTube. And just like on YouTube, it moves to the top. Unfortunately, with the way the FS Avenger website is set up, if I uploaded something 10 months ago, it's going to be in the same place it was 10 months ago. So if I uploaded 100 videos in 10 months, nobody's going to see that video unless I promote it. Plus, most importantly, it's black owned and operated website, and we should, as I said time and time again, support black male media. And so, that definitely contributes towards doing that. So yeah, guys, check the link out in the description box about my analysis of the Zulu tribe and the history of black female deification of whiteness. That link is in the description box and the pinned post. Now, to the topic of this video. Basically, this is a story of something that happened to me last week. I was in this suburb called Chicago Heights. For those of you from the Chicagoland area, I was in Chicago Heights for a couple of days. I had a gig up there that I was doing, and I had actually completed the gig, and I was on my way back home, but I needed to, on my way back home down in central Illinois, but I needed to stop by a gas station to fill up. So I go to the gas station, and normally I don't like, if it wasn't for what I was being offered for this gig, I probably wouldn't have even taken it, because Chicago Heights, for those of you who from the Chicagoland area, is kind of sketchy. It's one of those, high crime, high poverty type areas. So, I wouldn't even been here if it wasn't for, again, what I was getting, for doing the gig. But after I finished the gig, I was on my way out of town, and I went to this gas station to fill up, and the clerk at the gas station, of course, had to be a thought, and that kind of irritated me because, well, I guess in her defense, she didn't single me out with her funky attitude. She gave everybody a funky attitude. The white guy came in before me. It was Asian couple. She gave them a funky attitude. Just not making eye contact with you, chewing gum. Looking on her phone between transactions, looking out the window, looking at everybody but the customer. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I know where I am. Whatever. So I get the money. I'm a little ticked off by that, but not much. I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna be home soon. I go to get in my vehicle, and this SUV pulls up beside mine. And I notice immediately that the person who pulled up in the SUV is not sitting by the pump. So, I'm a little alarmed by this, because I'm thinking, okay, I know where I'm at. I better keep an eye out. This could be one of them, jump out and rob or smash and grab type situations. So while I'm pumping my gas, I turned immediately in the direction of the SUV, and I'm facing it directly, so that if there's any attack of people jumping out of the SUV at me, then I can be ready for it. They pulled in a very awkward manner, almost right up to me. And what made it worse is they had those what do they call them? The the heavily tinted windows, so you couldn't see inside. But I wanted to let them know that I was looking directly at them. And I thought for a brief moment that maybe I should just leave the gas pumping and step on the other side of my vehicle and have some cover just in case. As I told you guys, I am a practitioner and a teacher of self-defense, and I am always thinking defensively. Always. So anyway, while I was contemplating that, the window rolled down, and it was this young black female. She looked like she was in her late teens, early 20s. She didn't make eye contact with me, the person that was driving. She didn't make eye contact with me. And this was like a brand new, well, not a brand new, but it looked like a later model, I think, Buick SUV. I don't know the name of the SUV, but it was a pretty recent model of SUV. A nice looking car. And the younger female, she didn't make eye contact with me. She didn't say anything to me. But out of the passenger side, I started to hear this voice, and I leaned over as I was pumping my gas with the other hand, and there was this older grandma type looking female. She looked like she was in her early to mid 40s maybe, and grandmothers now are a lot younger than they were back in the day because of this whole baby mama drama epidemic that's been going on for the last 20 or 30 fucking years. So it used to take, you had to be well into your 60s or 70s to be a grandmama. I mean, by the time you get to that age, if you live that long as a female, you could be a great great grandmother. As loose as these females are, but that's a subject for another video. So this woman in the passenger seat, she talk. I can see that she's talking in my direction, and she says something. At first, I didn't hear her, so I leaned forward closer, and because I see her looking right at me, and she asks me if I could lend her some money, because, and she gives me the story about her and her grandbabies were traveling up here through Memphis, and somebody had stolen her purse, and they didn't have any money for food and gas. So she was asking me if I could spare some cash. She said, if you have any loose anything, sir, we would truly appreciate it. And don't get me wrong, I know that people beg all the time and they come up with all kinds of stories, and I'm very wise to that. But for some reason, I actually tended to believe what this woman was saying, with no proof whether she was telling the truth or not. I think it was just, the way she was, the way she was addressing me with respect. As I said before, you address me with respect, you get respect. And so, when she told me that, I was still a little irritated from the clerk in the gas station, and then on top of the clerk in the gas station, the girl that was driving the car, that was, she was, I say she was semi-attractive, but that didn't really matter. But what mattered was that she wasn't making eye contact with me. She wasn't asking me. She wasn't even looking at me. Like, she didn't even want to, do what I guess what was her mother or grandmother or whatever was, asking me for. She didn't even want to participate in it, Like, I don't know if it was an attitude or if she was just embarrassed, or maybe a combination of both. And so she said some other things I don't really recall, but she was giving me the story, and I didn't know or care if it was pre-cooked or not. I was still kind of irritated, and I said, ma'am, the only money that I have right now is the money I got to pump my gas. That's it. Other than that, I'm broke. Now, that was true. It was semi-true. Okay. I had I had some money that I was going to use cause I don't get paid right away, when I do my gigs, but I did have enough money to pay for like 2 meals for myself on the road back home. I had about $60 after I filled the tank, but $60 ain't really no fucking money. So, as I was communicating with this woman, I saw this cute little girl. She looked like she was maybe 3-4 years old. She popped her head out of the back of the car where, the tinted windows were still up, and she kind of made her way toward the front a little bit, and you could see her. She was looking right at me with her little ponytails, and she was looking right at me. And you know how little kids are. And then the grandmother and the girl that was driving the car pushed her back into the back of the car, and I could hear other kids back there that sounded like they were really small. And so when I basically just reiterated to her at that point that, I don't have nothing. And so she was like, okay, sir, God bless you. She wasn't disrespectful. I'm talking about the grandmother looking chick. And so the girl, she that was driving after, our brief little interaction, she rolled up the window and they circled the gas station again. And they went up to this old black guy, and I think he gave them some money. But when it was all over, and I was, because I was thinking to myself, I was talking shit to myself. But then when I left the gas station, I don't want to call it simp mode, but I kind of started feeling a little bad. You know how, like, we all say things, but when something actually happens, we may act a little differently. Well, I acted you know, in the ways that a Marlboro man would act and react to that. But afterward, I felt a little bad about it. And I didn't feel bad about it because it was black females, or even really because there were kids in the car, but that little girl was cute. But I acted like that because I realized that there have been times in my life when I've needed help, including recently. There's a very good brother on here. I'm not going to name his name, but he lent me a very large sum of money that I'm still in the process of trying to pay him back in a timely fashion. And I didn't really think he was gonna lend me that money. I thought he was gonna say no, but I mean, without any hesitation, he lent me that money without question or pause. And granted, we're all on the same level intellectually, and we agree with each other and we like each other. But I've had several occasions, where I've ran out of gas. People pull over on the side of the road. I didn't have no money, and a relative or even perfect stranger. I was in Muncie, Indiana, not too long ago. Had a vehicle problem. Some black guy that worked with the U.S. Census Bureau, he just gave me $25 cash, to help me out. So, I felt a little bad in that sense that, well, you could have gave him, maybe she was telling the truth. She looked like she was sincere. Maybe you could have gave him $20, $30. I mean, you would have lived. I was thinking like that, like, or maybe you could have asked them, well, what you want to eat? Follow me, because I don't trust you with my money, but I'll go get you something. I'll go get your baby something to eat, something like that. But you know, I was kind of divided about it. But then the more I thought about that chick that was in the driver's seat and the way she wouldn't look at me, like she wouldn't make eye contact. Well, not that I care for a black thought to look at me. I told you. But I'm saying, if you're asking somebody for money, even if you're not asking for somebody for money, okay, you're going to benefit off of anything that's coming out of my wallet or off of my debit card. You could at least look at me and show, some respect, because your grandmama, or maybe that was her mama, I don't know. But she said it was her grandbabies. I think she was talking about the little children in the back. I think the older thought that was driving the vehicle, I think that was probably her daughter. But that if I give your grandmother some money, she's gonna share that money if she's telling the truth now. If she's telling the truth that they're coming up from Memphis and somebody stole her purse, then that you're gonna benefit off of whatever she's gonna buy as well. If she go to KFC or whatever, you're gonna eat some of that chicken too. So to not even look. And then I kind of thought about, well, if I had have simped out and gave her some money, I might have not even got a thank you from that female that wasn't looking at me. And she was kind of reminiscent of the thought that was the gas station clerk that I encountered just a minute earlier. So I don't know. What would you guys have done? I know I know what most of you red pill and Marlboro men brothers are gonna say. Fuck them, but like honestly, in that situation, I know that my parents have said that when they decide to do charity, they never give people money. But if somebody asks for like, money for food, they'll just go and buy the person some food. If they're going to be charitable and help somebody out. They very rarely give out money because, a lot of times a person will cook up a lie and then they'll go buy drugs or something like that, or go buy marijuana. So I don't know, a part of me, larger part of me feels like, I did the right thing, which was looking out for me and my interests. It ain't none of mine. But then another part of me thinks that, well, maybe that's a little hypocritical, not because it's a bunch of black females in the car, but because, people have helped you out, your whole life. And a lot of times you didn't even have to ask, but sometimes you ask, and very rarely have you been turned down. So, and it's not like I've never done anything charitable for anybody before. You know, I have. I've given homeless people on the street money, and I've lent friends money, and um, I helped my dad move some extremely large beams in one of my company vehicles that he couldn't move with from the what do they call it, the home improvement store, by with the vehicle that he had. I've done stuff for people. But in this case, what would you have done? Say that you actually believe this lady's story about her purse being stolen. You know, and I don't know why I didn't think. Maybe because I just didn't care. I wasn't in the mood. Again, it's not my problem. But I thought later, why didn't I ask her? Well, did you contact the police? Where was the purse stolen? Did you contact the police about it? Try to maybe find out some more information to see if I could find out if she was being legit, or if, catch her in a lie. But I don't know. I'm a Marlboro man, and like I said, at the end of the day, the number one person that I'm looking out for, the number one person I'm pledging allegiance to is me. And that's it. That doesn't mean that I'll never help anybody. That doesn't mean that I don't show other people respect me. But, you know, you know, there are some situations where you can make exceptions to the rule. So what do y'all think? Should I have made an exception to my rule, which is generally fuck everybody except for me and mine? What would y'all do in that scenario? Anyway, thanks so much for listening, guys. Remember, check out my Zulu Pimp Warrior video, available now on FS Avenger and BitChute. The link for the FS Avenger video is down in the description box in the pinned post. Thank you so very much for listening, and talk to you later, guys.